I got a call from my uncle the other week, and you guys have to understand my uncle Lenny is like one of the most important recurring fixtures of my life. Like I don't hear from him every day, but if my life were a sitcom, whenever he does call my cell phone, it's like the Kramer applause. It's like he always has something insane to say, and he's telling me, and he's got this heavy New York accent. And he goes, "Hey Tom, I tried the new Starlight flavored Coca-Cola." And I said, "There's no fucking way it tastes like space. What the fuck does that even mean? It tastes like space." And I tried it, and I'll be damned, it tastes like space.
Um,
So so I tried it myself, and it had like a fruity flavor to it. Is that what you guys would what? I wasn't really sure what to expect either. I'm not sure I got space from it.
I mean, I haven't tried it. One of my colleagues said it tasted like honey.
Eh, I got more like notes of like berry Skittles than honey, but I guess I could see that.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Rev up those fryers and fill those champagne glasses to the tippy top. It's West Coast Toast and Roast with Tommy, Will, and Dav. Welcome back to West Coast Toast and Roast. I am the space-flavored host, Tommy.
I am oh my gosh, I live in California, so I suppose the smog-flavored host, Will.
And I taste like barbecue chicken. My name is Dav.
Really thought you were gonna say, and I taste like diabetes.
Okay, that's insensitive, Will.
Oh.
Here's the line, here's you. 7 episodes in. You crossed
I mean,
it.
I thought the line would be when Dav and I made a bet on when Banjo-Kazooie was coming out in Smash Bros, and I won it. So for punishment, Dav had to wear a Minecraft shirt that said "Mining our way out of Type 1 diabetes."
He's pretty sturdy, that Dav. Not much will bother him, by the looks of it.
Except sugar.
All right. Well, we tend to start this often with an elephant in the room that we've all seen, and we all saw each other in real life in the same state and saw Sonic 2. Do we feel like starting there?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is the sequel to the little-known video game adaptation, Sonic the Hedgehog. This one introduces Knuckles and Tails. It's better than the first one, right?
It's a Godfather 2 of video game movies.
And that's better than the first one?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I do not care for The Godfather.
But,
I was hoping we would go off on that. That just looked really... That's a big ass place I'm gonna have to... Go on.
I was just gonna say, as a kid, I really liked Sonic. And then, as a high schooler, I went through this phase where I'm like, Sonic is cringe. And then now that I'm adult, I'm like, yeah, Sonic's fucking awesome. So this movie, it was just a lot of fun. What I think makes the Sonic movies work as opposed to other video game movies is it's the characters. Like, this Sonic is basically like every other version of Sonic personality-wise, but they're kind of thrown into a new story, so it's not like a direct adaptation, and they don't have that pressure.
This you mentioned personality-wise, he feels like Sonic. I'd say this is the Sonic that most effectively captures the fact that he's canonically 15. Like, he does act and feel like a kid pretty authentically. It sounds awful, but this is sometimes it comes off that Sonic is just like a cool guy, but he does strike me as like a kid. Yeah,
that's true. And I think Sonic's still 15. I wonder how old Idris Elba Knuckles is, because boy, he's not a teenager.
In the games, he's 16. Do you think? I mean, he did lose his whole family to a war. Maybe he's just aged, had to age, mature quickly.
Yeah.
He forced himself to go through puberty.
Ugh, I don't like the way you phrase that.
I guess that means Tails lived a very privileged life despite being bullied because he acts like a 4-year-old.
I'm really happy it's Colleen O'Shaughnessy as Tails, but I would say that they don't give her much to work with. He is just kind of Sonic is so amazing, and that's kind of all he's got going for him.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Jim Carrey's back as Robotnik. He's pretty much killing it. Tried to discuss him without some spoilers, but Agent Stone is always great. I kind of liked that they introduced Knuckles along working with Robotnik. You know, that's how the character went in the old games. He was against Sonic at first and a bit gullible, so I just thought that was a neat homage. I feel like people kind of forget that part of Knuckles' tumultuous history. Knuckles was my favorite character as a kid, and the games deadass forget how to use him. He becomes stupid and useless gradually over time. So it's really good to see him kind of return to a glory where he is a pivotal character of this particular story.
Yeah, I echo that. Because I feel like, especially in Boom, which I mean, that's more of a comedy series, but he's such like a colossal idiot.
He's this version of like Knuckles has always been gullible and a bit of a beefhead. Boom takes it up to 11. Yeah, that is like complete stupid Knuckles.
Yeah.
To its credit, that show has funny enough writing and I think Travis Wilson him my voice for him is pretty good. But I'm still glad we're just back to a Knuckles that is that matters really.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a spoiler that the Death Egg is in the movie. That fight scene is kind of fucking phenomenal.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. I love the design of the Death Egg.
The design, it like mimics Eggman's movements, and he's like blowing snot out of his nose, and it mimics in the form of a flamethrower coming out of the Death Egg's nose. It's wonderful.
It's really creative, yeah.
I also think there's a 15-minute span where this stops being a Sonic movie.
Oh yeah, with the one lady on the golf cart.
Yeah, Rachel. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Again,
It's not really spoilers. It's just like there's a scene in the movie where Rachel, who is Tom's wife's sister, has like this 15-minute span to herself where she's like riding a golf cart and blowing shit up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bizarre just how it goes. And it's technically related, but while Sonic's out having this adventure, they kind of gave that for Tom to do in his own thing. And Rachel gets a surprising amount of focus, and it feels a little strange. Like they could have trimmed up some stuff there in that it doesn't show up again. But yeah, I was in there. I was pretty much enjoying it.
It's a fun movie, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in the third bit of this trilogy, the end game to this Avengers. But Dav, you've been a little quiet. Let's hear what you think.
I can't wait to see Rouge.
Oh yeah, I wonder why.
I was looking at the Parks and Rec clip of John Ralphio and Mona Lisa sneaking through the cemetery. You know, the "Don't be suspicious, don't be," and it made me want Jenny Slate as Amy really, really badly. That'd be reuniting that dynamic, but as hedgehogs.
Yeah, I mean, we were discussing also who would play what character. Dav, were you there when we pretty much... Because we know who's going to play Rouge if she shows up. Do you know who? Were you there when we talked about that?
I forget.
Okay, take a guess, because you're going to get it right.
I'm going to get it right?
There's no way they'd cast anyone else as Rouge if they could get this person.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Damn, you got it first try. No, they're definitely going to cast Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Absolutely. Unfortunately. Yeah, no, Sonic's a good time. I'm glad that I like to imagine Sonic spin dashing a hole right through Morbius and Dumbledore. Good times. Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, out of those three movies, only one has made $1 trillion.
$1 more billion.
$1 more billion.
All right. Well, that about covers that. Will, it's your turn.
Okay, so I guess I'll start this out with a little roast. And unfortunately, I have gone back and decided that I don't really like Turning Red, particularly because it does not address the consequences of a post 9/11 world.
I was so nervous for a second there.
No. I guess you can keep that, you can cut it, but boy, I can't believe that was someone's criticism of a children's movie.
May they hit the Pentagon!
No, there's
cut this.
So I'm going to start out with a toast, and that toast is Metroid Dread.
Yeah.
I got that for Christmas, but I haven't played it just yet because I was finishing up another game on my Switch that I couldn't fully remember what that is. Oh, Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory. But now, since I went to visit Colorado, I busted my Switch out, and it's my first Metroid game, so I don't have like a ton of... well, it's not my first Metroid game, it's the first one I've beaten. But it's just really good. It's got a lot of really cool non-verbal storytelling moments with Samus. Because Samus is basically an entirely silent protagonist, except for one time when she screams. But I think it just works really well because it just shows that, you know, she does this as a job and she just kind of wants to get through it. And I think that's really interesting. Like other silent protagonists like Link, he's got an emotional connection to things. You know, he's got to save Zelda. And he's also like kind of puts his whole body into it. But Samus uses a bunch of weapons and stuff. And she's also, you know, a freak of nature. So I think it works that Samus doesn't even really grunt. You just kind of see like her eyes through her helmet, and it works really well.
I also played Metroid Dread around Christmas. And I agree with you. It's very, very solid. I've talked about it a little on my channel, so I won't take up all your spotlight. But it is like very seriously like Metroid's always been creepy, but this is like the survival horror Metroid. Like the freaking Emmy were just like my favorite thing. I loved.
Oh yeah,
those were they're cool. They're kind of fun to beat because you have to get that big ass laser that you can only blow your load like once.
Yeah,
it's great. It's great stuff.
No, I think it works well too because every Metroid has been like, man, this is weird. But in this one, it's so like, it's got this weird combination of like flesh and machinery as like enemies, and it works really well on both ends.
Absolutely, the big ass tail lizard dude, A plus like mechanical chimera design right there.
Yeah. Oh, and this isn't a trailer, so it's not a spoiler. This is the best Kraid has ever looked.
Oh, absolutely.
Like in the others, he just like, I mean, you know, limits of software and all, but he's been like kind of just like a bit taller than Samus, but not like a ton.
Uh-huh.
But in this one, he's gigantic.
Enormous.
And it's awesome. In addition, it's basically Cuphead boss fights where they're hard, but you know exactly why you lost, and I think that's really good. In addition, the villain of this game is probably my favorite Metroid villain now. And the first character, if they make another Smash Bros, that I've actually wanted as a first-party character since the game came out.
Is that character considered a spoiler? Like I've caught wind, but
No, he's in the beginning of the like he's in the first cutscene. He's a Chozo soldier named Ravenbeak, and he's just got such a cool design.
Yeah.
His boss fight is really cool. And then also, you know, in Metroidvanias, you can't do a ton of character building, but just like you hear stories about this guy, and then he talks a bit, and you're like, oh my fucking god, this guy is nuts. Because the cool thing is, and this isn't really a spoiler, the other most famous Metroid villain is, I guess, Ridley or Mother Brain. And Ridley is awesome, and I'm not, you know, whacking him, but he's basically, you know, he's a space pirate. He's in it for the money. He's there and, you know, he's got that grudge against Samus. But Ravenbeak is in it because he wants to rule the galaxy, and he has planned out every single inch of how he is going to do that, and it's awesome.
I liked the environmental storytelling, like you were saying before, just seeing like how many statues and hard to put into words, tablets of like stories and legends of the Chozo and how I think I like Super Metroid still more than this game, mostly for nostalgia reasons, but I got to acknowledge that this one kind of takes the really cryptic detail of Metroid and finally like brings it to life in a story and a situation you can really really invest in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, but
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say this is a really solid game, and I can absolutely understand why it was nominated for Game of the Year. And I'm sorry, Dav, I haven't played It Takes Two, but at this moment, I kind of wish that one won.
Well,
But anyways, I will pass it off to you.
cool. Okay. Um. I guess since you did a roast, I'll do a toast. I'm gonna
No, I did do a toast.
Oh, you did do a toast. Okay, well then
Yeah.
I'll start with a roast.
Man, I fucking hate Metroid Dread. Here's all the things I love about it. Anyways, go ahead.
That's right. Okay, so we're gonna roast. I'm gonna roast Netflix.
Just in general.
Uh, for what they have done with Stone Ocean.
Ooh, I know what you mean.
It was a very unfortunate thing, and that has only been honestly spiraling out of control even more lately.
Oh, even more?
Yeah, so basically the context here is that Netflix has the airing rights in the West for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6, Stone Ocean, whereas previously it has pretty much just always aired on like Crunchyroll or your general anime sites. And the way it was released before is it would just go 1 week at a time because that's how it was airing on TV. But I mean, as far as I can tell, it's exclusively Netflix now, and they're like the plus side I think that they're trying to get across with this is that you can watch the English dub at the same time as the original subtitled version. And I don't think that's a good trade-off for what we're getting here, because what we're getting is they're airing 12 episodes at a time in batches, like 3 batches, which there's a lot of problems with that that a lot of anime have suffered from in the past. And Netflix seems to be basically the only service that is just so gung-ho about binging over weekly releases, because they released all 12 episodes at once. It was very hype when it came out, and then after about a week, everybody stopped talking about it.
Exactly.
Because the great thing about JoJo is that literally it turned into a meme, JoJo Fridays, because people were looking forward to every Friday a new episode of JoJo would come out during the season. And like part 4, part 5, they all went through their entire stories, 39 episodes in 39 weeks, just airing 1 episode at a time. But beyond that, Stone Ocean aired its first 12 episodes, I think it was December or something last year. And the next 12 episodes are coming out at the end of this year.
Ugh.
That will be the end of the first 2/3 of Stone Ocean, and then we will get the final 12 episodes at the end of 2023.
Fucking insane. I would.
But
This is easy
Go
to
ahead.
say. This is easy to say. I would not have blown my load and just binged all of Stone Ocean while I was sick that day if I knew I had to wait a fucking year for the next chunk.
yeah,
I mean-
I think everybody. Go ahead, Will.
I was just gonna say, JoJo also kind of benefits from, I believe, what Super Eye Patch Wolf called the Junji Ito page flip, in that like the suspense of waiting for the next episode adds to the next episode. So when you've just got all 12 and you watch and you're like, well, that was good, there's not really a lot of momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The last frame of every JoJo episode is like a suspenseful page flip. They freeze on like, how on earth is Jolene gonna get out of this universe bend of a stand? And when you can just hit play, or maybe you have to wait a year, it's completely fucking, it's out the window.
Yeah, so I mean, two things that JoJo is most known for are JoJo Fridays and the to be continued at the end of each episode, which is just completely moot if you can just watch the next episode immediately while it's in season.
And I want to bring
It's
up,
insane.
I want to bring up too. We all remember when Squid Game for a solid 5 weeks was the biggest fucking thing on earth, and it would have continued to, but it fizzled out of nowhere, just gone. And that wouldn't have been the case if they aired it week by week instead of letting people binge it. And that the most discussed TV show on Twitter last year was fucking Euphoria. That came out week by week.
Also, Arcane came out week by week, and people still talk about that and love it because there was such a big period of time where that was the new thing. But
well, because you can also talk about it like, with your friends, and then especially on the internet, like, oh wow, what do you think's going to happen in this next episode? But like with JoJo, now it's like, what do you think's going to happen in this next episode? It's like, well, it's going to be a year from now, so no point in even thinking about it.
Right.
And then by the time the next episode comes out, I'm going to forget what all happened because I'm not. It's been too long. There's just too much spaced out. But I mean, beyond all this, when I say that it's gotten more out of control is because the Netflix Geeked Twitter, which is, by the way, the worst Twitter account of all time, has been promoting Stone Ocean and has been continuing to promote it pretty much every day. They will say some sort of tweet like JoJo Stone Ocean episodes, whatever, coming 2022. The problem is that they've been posting sort of inconsistent what the next episodes are going to be, because at first they were saying episodes 13 through 24 coming 2022. That would be the next 12 episodes after the first 12 episodes came out. Lately, they've been tweeting out episodes 13 through 22 are coming in 2022.
So they're shortening it?
Panicking. They are gradually making it shorter for some reason.
By 2022, they're going to be like, the intro for the 13th episode is coming out in 2022. You got to wait till 2024 for the next one.
It's mind-boggling because this is like, there's no excuse for this to be happening this way. Netflix has been open to weekly releases of shows before, like I said, Arcane. This is a show that not only is known for its weekly releases and works best in weekly releases, that's all it's really ever done. Right. So there's no argument that there's like, some people in the comments are trying to say like, oh, well, it takes time to make shows. Like, yes, it does take time to make shows. Every other season has taken its time, and that's been perfectly fine. But, if the show isn't ready for a full release, don't blow your load early and start releasing them in batches then.
I like to imagine that Disney heard Spider-Man and Mickey were in part 6, and they're like, you need to spend a year in copyright court with us. We're not letting you fucking out of here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the next episode is with Limp Bizkit, whose English name is Flaccid Pancake. They probably need a year to fucking get over the embarrassment of that.
Yeah.
A pervasive point of view I hear, too, is that I'm not super familiar with Part 6. I'm an anime only because, I don't know, it's just more satisfying to experience it all as a long saga over all that time.
Well, and also because, the Part 6 isn't legal here.
Yeah. I'm sure there's ways I could find it, but legally, I'm opposed to that stuff. FBI agent spying on me. Yeah, the pervasive point of view I see here is that Part 6 gets a lot of unfair flack because, spoilers for a super old manga, it's the end of the original JoJo saga. It's about a woman that people and for sexist reasons, some people, I really wouldn't know, people tend to sweep it aside, and this is only adding on to the bias people will have against it, that it's just more bad press and bad association.
Everyone's like, JoJo Part 7 is the best manga I've ever read, so it's kind of like, wow, we're getting 12 episodes a year of the part before the best manga of all time.
Mm.
Who knows when that's gonna come out, if ever.
Like that's ever gonna happen.
Because, I mean, this could honestly, tank the reputation enough that they have to stop here, and that would just suck.
Ugh.
That would. As a voice actor, I've always wanted. There are two things that I'm like, I will die happy if I can be in this. One is Urusei Yatsura, which is getting a reboot in this year. The other is Jojo. And if Jojo fucking ends here and that dream is dead, I would be very upset.
Yeah.
So you know what, Netflix? If you want to make me upset, then go ahead and do what you're doing. But you've lost a customer.
Really?
No.
Not till he figures out how to sail the high seas.
No, I'm being entirely sarcastic because Netflix is a multi-billion-dollar company and they don't care about one person.
Yeah.
And if they care enough to raise your price for sharing an account.
Oh yeah, that's why I never tell anyone if I'm sharing.
Ugh.
They want to guilt people into sharing. Just be like,
company.
Okay, well that's all I got on that. Fuck Netflix. Off to you, Tommy.
All right. So I'd like this is a half toast, half roast. It's a movie that is good to watch. This is a good hate watch. A little tired of the words. I watch it ironically, but every now and then it comes along. I'd like to discuss the Hulu film Deep Water. And you hear the phrase all the time, oh, this is this generation's The Room. This is the new The Room. But people don't always take into account thematic things that make The Room funny. So I don't use the term lightly when I say this is the modern The Room. This is The Room with a budget and with really sexy people. So I was thoroughly enthralled with this movie. Because I think what's so funny about The Room, ultimately, is that the premise itself is relatively grounded and supposed to be taken. It's not like seagulls and snakes from space, Sharknado. It's like something you could take seriously, but so stupid in every detail of execution that it's utterly baffling. And this is kind of like that. Deep Water is a film about Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas, the two sexiest people alive. They're a couple, and Ana de Armas is basically super unhappy in their relationship. She wants a way out. She is like a cat on a hot tin roof. So the solution is that they agreed she gets to sleep with whoever she wants on the side. Ben Affleck starts to eye twitch at this, and he gradually starts to murder Ana de Armas's partners, and it gets her turned on. And she's like, oh no, it'd be a shame if you murdered this guy I'm sleeping with on the side. And Ben Affleck, just gives his Ben Affleck sigh and fucking kills more people. And it's fucking brilliant. It is fucking insane.
damn.
It doesn't
Jesus.
Sorry, you go ahead.
I mean, just Jesus. Like, what the?
It doesn't sound like... It sounds pretty insane when I describe it, but there's just so many weird details. There's this amazing running gag where Ana de Armas shows she's unhappy in their marriage by being outwardly resentful of their young daughter they have. And it's... There's multiple scenes of the daughter playing with a toy that plays Old MacDonald, and Ana de Armas just storms into the other room yelling, would you turn that fucking shit off?
Jesus. Dark Water, it's called?
Deep Water. There's a whole motif centered around the fact that Ben Affleck has a slug farm.
What?
He has a garage full of file cabinets where it's not slugs, he tends to snails. That's his hobby. And every time he's upset that Ana de Armas is sleeping with someone else and he has to mull over a murder, he goes to his snail garage and opens this file cabinet of snails and feeds them very morosely. He's making the live slug reaction face the whole time. I think
This sounds like
go on.
this sounds like the like. You know what this sounds like? Oh my god, this sounds like a fake movie in the I Think You Should Leave universe.
Well, there is an interview that would. There's a real interview that was just like the snail handler for the set of Deep Water said the snails really took to Ben Affleck and he was very gentle with them.
I mean, Chad moment, honestly.
I think an underrated thing about The Room that makes it really funny is that the casting is so weird in that it's a group of friends that would never happen. You're like, how did the Tommy Wiseau character and the accountant character and this young kid become friends? That's what something that just like feels unhinged and off about it. This movie has precisely that. Ben Affleck's friend, like Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas have this rich circle of friends who are like a long-haired, drugged-out dude, a polo-wearing golf dad, an older doctor. It's just the weirdest thing of, like, every one flavor of rich person who would never hang out. And it's really fucking funny. As they're trying to figure out if Ben Affleck drowned this guy in their pool for sleeping with Ana de Armas and why she likes it so much.
Something. That sure is something.
Yeah.
That sure is something.
So yeah, I'd heartily recommend. I watched this one with my mom when I visited her over spring break, and we were just the whole time like, this is the fucking dumbest thing I've ever seen. But then when one of us has to leave the room, we're like, pause it, pause this fucking movie. I'm not missing a second of this. So yeah, Deep Water on Hulu. Oh, amazing. Will, it's back to you, bud.
Well, God, hard to follow up that. I guess I'm going to do a dual toast and roast of both of the Spider-Man games for the PlayStation.
Ooh.
A toast for the original one, and an unfortunate roast for the second one.
That being Miles.
First of all,
wait, the second one being Miles Morales?
Yes. So here's the thing. First of all, the first one is a pretty perfect Spider-Man story. It's a Sinister Six story, but it also kind of relies on you know who the Vulture is if you're playing this. So you don't need like an origin story of each of the members, you know?
Yeah.
So there's there's Vulture, Scorpion, Rhino, Mr. Negative, Doc Ock.
Electro.
Did I say? Yeah, and Electro. So only Mr. Negative and Doc Ock get origins in this, and they're both really cool. Especially Doc Ock. He's always been like, ever since the Raimi films, he's always been kind of a tragic villain, and it really shows in this because you know he's going to turn into Doc Ock because his name's Otto Octavius, but it is heartbreaking seeing how much Peter loves and looks up to him, and then seeing him become his worst enemy. The gameplay is also really fun. It's the first game I've ever platinumed because there's just so much stuff to do. You can go and like do all these side quests. I didn't even get into the story for the first 2 hours of the games. I was just doing side quests.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun swinging like Spider-Man. There's lots of cool gadgets. This is definitely one of my favorite versions of Peter. It's a, younger Peter, but it really works. Yuri Lowenthal does a great job. Lots of great quips. But again, the thing about this game is the gameplay, and the villains are really good. It is a lot of fun fighting Vulture, fighting Electro, fighting, Doc Ock, and also the emotional weight that comes with that. There's a scene where, and when did this game come out, Davey? 2016?
2018.
Yeah, 2018. Okay, so, people know. The first time Doc Ock shows up, he frees all the villains, and he tells Spider-Man, stay out of my way. But then at the end, it's revealed that the whole time, he knew Spider-Man was Peter Parker. And so this whole time, Peter was like, oh my god, he's just hurting me because, he thinks I'm Spider-Man. But then it leads into the fact that this man was hurting me even though he knew that, I adored him and looked up to him, and he was basically, a father figure. And there's so much emotional weight behind that, it's awesome.
Yeah,
Here-
it's really great. I love that ending with them.
Yeah, and it shows, there's no redemption for Doc Ock. He, is in a jail cell, and you see how mad he is. It's really good. Here's where Miles gets messed up. So first of all, this may be very well be my favorite version of Miles, because he's just a genuinely good and helpful kid. Like, he volunteers at a soup kitchen. Even before he was Spider-Man, he did things that would, like, put himself in harm's way. And I like Spider-Verse Miles, and I like, Spider-Verse is still my favorite Spider-Man thing. But Spider-Verse Miles was kind of thrown into it, apropos of nothing. But this Miles shows that he had everything that made him a Spider-Man. And, no matter what he did, he would always make sure that he was looking out for other people. And Tommy knows this, I don't like legacy heroes. But this is a Miles that I really feel attached to. Here's where his game sucks. It doesn't suck, it's just not as good as the first. It's like a solid 6, 5 out of 10 maybe. The deal is, Miles is a relatively new character. He does not have the comic book history of Peter Parker. And boy does it show. Because Miles Morales has no good villains.
The villain in that game is awful, honestly.
Yeah. Because they do something, I'm gonna say it because it's painfully obvious. Okay, so there are 2 villains in here. The Prowler and the Tinkerer. Now, the Prowler is kind of a classic Spider-Man villain, but he's been given to Miles because it's Aaron Davis. But as opposed to, like, the heartbreak of in Spider-Verse Prowler realizing that he almost killed his nephew and dying for that, this Prowler is just like, yeah, I knew you were Spider-Man the whole time. And there's this, like, he doesn't hurt him, but there's a time where he's like, Miles' dad dies in this game. And so he's like, I'm not losing you too. And that's a powerful moment. But then after they fight, Prowler takes off his mask and he's like, Miles, don't do this. We don't have to hate each other. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude.
And he's like being intentionally manipulative, I take it?
No, he's just
no,
like...
He's like not even a villain.
Yeah, he's basically an anti-hero, but it's just like, you lose... Miles' one great villain just got turned into, like, basically an anti-hero. And it's not even the best version of the character.
I see.
And then the other villain... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Davey.
I was just gonna say, like, there are the Prowler missions that, like, I mean, they make it very clear Prowler is not really a villain. Like, there's just that one fight with him where he's just, like, it's not even because you have, like, a conflict of interest, it's just that he really doesn't want Miles to get hurt. But they have, like, these Prowler side missions that
oh my god,
kind of lame. I mean, they do some decent storytelling, but I think it's just dragged out way too much.
The Prowler, because, like, a lot of the missions in Spider-Man 1 are like, go to this warehouse, do this objectives, or, like, there's also the Taskmaster challenges, which are awesome, where you have to, Taskmaster, like, puts people in danger and tells Spider-Man, you have to do this mission the exact way I want you to, or I'm going to kill
That's
them.
fucking cool.
The fight with him is so good, too.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, you're like, okay, why is he doing this? Can you guess why he's doing this?
No.
He's doing this because he's watching Peter the whole time and absorbing his moves.
Oh, why didn't I think of that? What the fuck?
So it's like, it's super awesome, like, in a side quest that way. But in this, Prowler sets up these, like, tapes of, like, so him and Miles' dad made a mixtape, and they used sounds of the city as, like, backing tracks, which is a cool idea. But the Prowler missions make you find where the backing tracks are, point a microphone at it, at the very exact, like, distance and angle. And it doesn't work otherwise, and it is miserable. The first time, like, you have to do one for the story, and I'm like, okay, I'll try one more. Did it. Never, I'm not completing that.
Now, I like this, I like that idea. I like the sound of that, but it sounds like if you execute it anyway wrong, it could be fucking miserable.
It is. It's, like, impossible. Like, there's one. It shows you, like, the wavelength, and I was, like, aiming the microphone at it, and I had the exact same wavelength, but I was too close. And when I backed up, it said I was too far.
That's
I
It is.
platinumed the game, so I had to do all of those, and it was not
Uh,
fun.
See, I was planning on it, and then I was just like, you know what, fuck this.
life is too
Um,
short.
But what the cool thing that you kind of didn't mention about the Taskmaster stuff is that, like, not only is he absorbing all of your moves, like after you do all of his missions, you fight him, and he uses those moves against you.
oh yeah, it's awesome. Taskmaster's such a good villain. Always, we'll never forgive Black Widow for what they did to him, but
No.
um, the borderline not even Taskmaster.
Yeah.
But anyways, I get to the second villain, and there are two main villains, and one is made up just for the game, and it's Simon Krieger, and he's just like this big tech dude who's greedy. He doesn't really have any character.
Troy Baker villain. He's a Troy Baker villain. That's
Yeah.
I'm so
basically
fucking
it.
sick of every comic book thing having a tech guy villain.
Well, he's just like,
Yeah.
he's a, Mark Zuckerberg CEO type deal. And he doesn't even like, he only exists to cause the like bad stuff. And the main villain is called the Tinkerer. And I don't know if this is it in the comics, but he's Miles's friend Finn. And Finn lost her brother to Simon Krieger's like machine that made him sick. And when they tried to shut it down, Simon Krieger like blew up the machine, so it blew up her brother. And so Finn's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get Simon Krieger," and she is the most annoying fuck villain ever.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, she's not charming in any way. It's not like Doc Ock, where these people are friends and it's tragic. She's just kind of a dickhead. Like Miles offers. A lot of times he's like, hey, the evidence is right here. Let's just go public with this. And she's like, no, I am going to blow up a reactor in the middle of a city and vaporize the entire town just so this guy... And we're expected to feel bad for her and that Miles is in the wrong.
We're gonna kill you.
Kill you. No, like the whole time, she's like mad at Miles because he lied to her about being Spider-Man. But then after that, he's like, okay, fine, I'm Spider-Man. And then they go down and they try to get the evidence, and, she kills Rhino, and he's like, don't do that. And then all of a sudden she's like, I'm sick of you lying to me, and I'm gonna kill you if you get in my way again. And it makes no fucking sense.
This sounds like
He
It
should
is
be
a-
able to like knock her head off, but she's just like she's got that plot armor for some reason.
Yeah.
Is she does she have a suit? How does she fight you?
Nanotechnology?
I'm having a hard time.
She's like a tech genius despite being like a 15-year-old girl.
15-year-old. I'm just having a hard time picturing. So this is like a 15-year-old girl who fights you with nanobots.
No, it's like nano armor.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god. I just looked it up. She's original to this game.
Ugh.
Yeah.
This sounds like
I think the Tinkerer is a villain, but he was like an old man or something.
yeah. This sounds like everything I'm sick of. More than tech guy villain, that old guard, Venom, Batman v Superman all did. I'm sick of tech guy villain hunted by a vaguely anti-heroic vigilante villain who you have to knock some sense into. I'm sick of that shit.
Teenage tech genius.
Yeah, it just sucks because, like I said, this is probably my favorite version of Miles, but the villains are so bad. I was just like in the original Spider-Man, I'm like, okay, let's do these side quests. But in this one, I'm like, okay, let's just get this over with. I just want to be done with this game.
I think the gameplay in Miles Morales is sort of a step up over the original, mostly because it doesn't have any of the shitty stealth missions. And also because I guess sort of the base raids are better because like in the original, the base raids were basically you go to the base and you have a couple of optional objectives and you just fight a bunch of just waves of enemies. But in this one, it's like there's a specific number of enemies in the base that have like certain patrols, and you can sort of plan your whole attack around those.
There's definitely some steps up in the gameplay, but overall, I think the original one is just like so much better.
Yeah, and it's definitely, Miles Morales, I think, is just sort of like a 1.5, and then when 2 comes out, we're probably going to see the best of both worlds. At least I'm hoping so.
Yeah, I mean they're bringing in Venom, which they're doing. I'm worried that they're gonna do an odd thing with him. Um,
Like something in particular, or
I mean the game's been out, so I don't feel bad. So at the end, it turns out Harry Osborn is dying,
Hmm.
and Norman Osborn keeps him in a tank, and it's like to heal him, and it's revealed that in that tank is the Venom symbiote.
Huh.
And I don't want I want them to do it. Here's the way they should do it. They should do it, he gets out and then the Venom symbiote leaves Harry and Harry dies and then Peter's like I couldn't save him, gets mad, Venom symbiote attaches to Peter, symbiote Peter, Venom, Eddie Brock.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to make Harry Osborn Venom. That's not a good idea.
I'm with that. Yeah. It'd be
I'm pretty sure that's what they're going for, though.
It'd be a little neat if you got a black suit Spider-Man that was like an Infamous situation where like you could make moralistic story branches with your.
That would be cool.
Is,
Yeah.
is that?
It's also going to be Kraven the Hunter, though.
Oh,
Kraven is always cool, yeah. Oh, what?
He's just such an I like Kraven when he's done well. Okay, he's just easily such an absurd fucking character.
Yeah.
He's getting anyone attached to the freaking Sony Sony Spider Villain verse. I kind of can't help but chortle a bit at.
I hope Morbius is a secret villain.
Oh yeah. No, that would be funny if they like played into the memes and you fought like someone who claimed to be Morbius, but he's just like a goon and he gets arrested and he's like, "You can't do this to me. I'm Michael Morbius. I sold 1 trillion tickets."
I'm ready for that one.
All right. Anyways, I'm done. Davey.
Okay, so time for a toast. I'm gonna toast Gravity Falls.
Yeah.
Oh fuck yeah.
So, I mean, I used to watch it like when the first season was airing on Disney Channel as a kid. I didn't even really watch all of it, but I mildly kept up with it. But this was sort of like one of the last shows that aired before I like stopped watching TV, and I always thought it was pretty good, but I never watched the second season. Like not only because I stopped watching TV, but also because it was I think it was exclusive to Disney XD, and didn't have that, so just kind of missed out on that. But I recently went through and just binged the whole show on Disney Plus, and it is really good, like really, really good.
I am deeply envious of you as someone who just watched season 2 of Gravity Falls in a blitz for the first time. It is some of the top tier cartoon content ever.
Oh yeah,
I think it's the best modern cartoon. Full stop.
Which is so strange to think about because
Really?
it's barely modern anymore. I think it's almost 10 years old.
Yeah.
it is, but it's kind of timeless. It really doesn't. Obviously most like Cartoon Network and Disney shows nowadays are very much about like what's going on right now. But Gravity Falls is like, disconnected from the internet and media, and it's just sort of isolated. Like, it takes place in modern day, but it doesn't really do a whole lot with like trends or memes or anything. So it's really, really good to watch like anytime.
One of the most solid voice casts of any cartoon, too, I would say. I think
Absolutely.
every character has
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Every character in that show is insanely quotable, partly because it's brilliantly written, and partly because every character has such an infectious voice to do.
That's true. I love Seuss's grandma.
Oh,
She is hilarious. There was one joke that was like I think he mentioned something like she was talking about heaven for some
it was
reason,
like
and
I
Seuss
want
was
to
just like, "Oh, that's where."
I want to see you be married before I go up and ascend with the angels
Yeah.
and with grandma.
Oh yeah, she's like, no, he is not there, and she looks down.
Such a like absurdly just dark joke out of nowhere for a Disney show. I just don't expect that sort of thing from them, but it's so great that got through. Also,
Sorry, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say surprisingly good comedy for like the video game parodies, like the fighting game character and then like the dating sim character were both actually like good compared to something you would again see in other modern cartoons.
I think one of my favorite lines in the show is Rumble McSkirmish going, "For my next fight, you must take me to the Soviet Union." And Dipper just goes, "That's not possible for multiple reasons."
Yeah, that's aged well.
I was gonna say, Seuss easily could have been like just the big doofy comedic relief. His focus episodes have this genuine emotional arc to them. And fucking Seuss and the Real Girl and the one dealing with his dad are two of the best episodes of the show.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Surprisingly really good.
The Weird Mageddon is also just one of the best finale film. I call it a movie because it's enough episodes to be about that length, and I've never not watched it all at once. One of the best finale chunks of content ever.
Yeah, I think Gravity Falls is just it's just so like it's a bit of an enigma because it's so legitimately good. Like I've never seen anything like it.
Alex Hirsch, he's a talented guy. He's still doing cool stuff. I hope Inside Job, and this is gonna sound so backhanded. If Inside Job is half as good in its final stretch as this show is, we're in for a treat.
Yeah.
You guys want to hear a
Evidently
joke?
there's some continuation too with like what are you saying?
I was quoting Grunkle Stan disruptively. You were make a salient point, please. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, speaking of Grunkle Stan, though, he was also a surprisingly great character in the second season there. They did so much with him and his brother.
No, I don't want to spoil it, cause even though it's an old show, his final confrontation with the big bad, I'll leave it at that, godlike. How he finishes off
Oh, that was so good.
So good. You were saying something about
Yeah, I mean, there's not...
I'm really sorry. I don't mean to. Keep going.
No, I mean, there's not really like a whole lot to say about it other than like it's fantastic and everybody should watch it because, you know, if I do keep talking about it, there are going to be some pretty big spoilers, and I do think people should go in blind because it's really good.
Yeah. Should I take that as your cue for me to take the wheel in that case?
Yep.
All right, cool. I'm going to talk about Kirby and the Forgotten Land and toast it. I said earlier, I think Metroid Dread is a little better than Super Metroid, but I have nostalgia for Super Metroid, and it's gonna probably be my favorite at the end of the day. I feel largely the same way. I think my favorite Kirby game is still Kirby Superstar, but this feels like the fully realized best, like what Kirby has been aiming to be for a long time. I like most Kirby games, but pretty frequently with the caveat of it's for a younger audience. It's going to be a little easy if you're a more advanced gamer, which we all know I very well am, all Smash failures aside. What I think is brilliant about Kirby and the Forgotten Land is that it can absolutely be that accessible game for a younger player completely. But you kind of have a lot of choices that can, and I'm not saying you have switches to adjust the difficulty. You can pick a difficulty mode. I'm saying you can choose to make it a completionist run or any number of very, very present and very easily conceived challenges that can make this genuinely a very worthwhile and very enriching game to play. So it kind of takes the Super Mario 3D Land model where it's kind of a collectathon in addition to a platformer. You have to collect a certain number of items to progress, these being freeing Waddle Dees. Now, the downside is where that more younger audience quality comes in, I was never once behind on Waddle Dees. I was sometimes doubling the number of Waddle Dees I needed to progress to the next hub world. But if you want to set that goal for yourself to save every single Waddle Dee, there's a ton, and saving them gets challenging. So you can see, if you just want to shoot straight to the final boss, that's the game your kid can play. If you want to collect all the Waddle Dees, all of the leveled up transformations, and all that jazz, that's the game for the more experienced player. And I think there's a certain genius to that science.
about Kirby and Forgotten Lands is the mouthful mode genuinely upsets me.
It's some of the funnest shit. They employ some, like I said, there's shit where you can walk right past it and not do it, or there's things with the mouthful mode that are just creative ways to get more out of the game. Like usually they're required to complete a level, but the way you use it is still largely up to you, and it's what you do with it that determines how many collectibles you get at the end of that day.
It's not the gameplay. It's
the concept, yeah.
Yeah, no, and like in the trailer when they introduced mouthful mode and Kirby's in the car, you can see him like strain to get over that car. It looks like it hurts.
I kind of don't mind. I don't know what to tell you. Kirby's a tough dude. He can take it.
I mean, more power to you if you want to believe that. But I feel like it's unpleasant.
Kirby is a godlike being. He would not do it if it wasn't totally. Trust me, sir. Wrapping my body around this giant soda machine is entirely crucial to this adventure. The final boss, I don't want... some of the best bosses in a Kirby game, you've seen a lot of them in the trailers. There's that great gorilla. Silly Dillo is that Tex Avery-looking armadillo. He's actually hard as fuck to beat. We know King Dedede's in the game. One of the coolest fights with Dedede fucking ever. He, everyone has, an animal motif, and he has a mask that he pulls down when he loses his hammer and falls onto all fours and charges you like a boar. It's really fucking cool. Yeah. Then there's the final boss. No spoilers. Genuinely horrifying.
Damn.
Yeah.
Horrifying as in hard, or horrifying as in legitimately scary?
The concept is something I don't want to oversell it because people say, oh, the final boss of Kirby is so scary. I'm a little surprised they got away with what they did in a Kirby game.
Oh, so it's... Gotcha.
Yeah. And after that is the post-game, where it's a little bit of a retread of concepts you've played before, but it's even harder collecting and even harder versions of those levels. So I almost feel as though the original campaign is short enough that that's the practice mode for what I think people are going to find in the post-game is the fully realized, challenging Kirby platformer they've been waiting for.
Interesting.
Yeah, I really like it. I think King of Fighters 15 is my game of the year at the moment. This is a very close second.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Will, back to you, boss.
Okay, let me look through what I've been doing. Alright, I'm gonna toast Moon Knight. So first of all, Tommy knows this, and this is largely thanks to my dad, who basically, he was really into it too, and he passed down this love to me. I'm really into Egypt-inspired things. And the first 3 episodes of Moon Knight... Obviously, okay, that idea that, this dude who's the avatar of an Egyptian god, that appeals to me high-key. But it's also... It's some of the most unique stuff that Marvel's put out. Everyone always complains, Marvel is the same. This is very tonally different. There are no quips in this. There's, comedy from awkward moments. But it takes its main character very seriously, even though... he's, a deeply flawed individual. I feel like, okay, you know how in Endgame, when Thor was depressed and got fat, everyone made fun of him?
Yes. My least favorite thing about that fucking film.
Yeah. If this character was in Endgame, people would be making fun of him. But since it's in a pocket, it works so well. There's a lot of respect given to him.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I love the design of Moon Knight.
He's a very cool looking character.
Yeah. The dissociative identity disorder stuff is done very well. I know for people going through it, it's not a fun thing, but I think they did a lot of research into how it manifests in people, and it shows. And it also really makes for some good storytelling. Because I love Oscar Isaac. He's one of my favorite actors. He really nails that it's different people. Like, there's a scene where he is, right now the two personalities that we know of are Mark and Steven. There's a scene where Mark is like, okay, fine, you take over the body, and it's like he blinks, and all of a sudden he's a different character. It's very cool.
Mm.
Those are sort of the coolest scenes that they have, where it's just suddenly a different, like, you can tell a bunch of stuff has happened and changed, but it's in an instant.
Yeah. The action's really good. It's also realistic. You know how everyone's always like, wow, this dude is taking down like 15 people at once?
Mm-hmm.
In the latest episode of Moon Knight, when he doesn't have his powers, he takes on 3 people, and it's hard for him because he's just a dude.
That sounds very interesting. Sorry, you go on. That just sounds pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, it's really good because, like, it's not like super stylized, like, oh, he's jumping up and he's, throwing down his hammer. He's, dodging, he's parrying. It feels realistic. It's not like these are, I think one of the biggest problems with superhero movies is just very accommodating stuntmen.
Mm-hmm.
But in this, it's like, it's like, this is what would happen if 3 people got in a fight against 1 person.
I take it a skilled mercenary. Is that the personality he's in at that point?
Yeah, and, at the same time, he's also up against other skilled people. So it's not like he can just, kill him in 1 punch.
Mm-hmm.
And Ethan Hawke makes a really good villain. The intro scene to the series is one of the most unnerving bits in a Marvel series. It's, literally the first thing that happens. So you see Ethan Hawke's villain take up a cane, take off his shoes, take a drink out of a glass, smash the glass, put the bits of glass in his shoes, and put his shoes back on.
I don't know why, but holy shit, sorry.
Yeah, no, and throughout the whole series, and I was listening for this, because I'm like, I wonder if this is just like a one-off thing, you can hear the glass crunch in his shoes every time he walks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's in the first episode?
Yeah, the glass thing is the first thing that happens in the series, but throughout the 3 episodes, you can hear him walking and you can hear the glass crunch.
I guess I must have not done a good job paying attention. I don't quite remember that. Okay, gotcha. Oh, well.
Huh.
I only watched the first episode, and my heart was only half in it. Maybe I should give it another chance.
I think you should. It's a unique Marvel character. This guy is so, like, profoundly different from every other Marvel superhero we have. It's great. I mean, the only one I could even compare him to is Daredevil, and Daredevil's only, like, I mean, technically the Netflix stuff isn't really, pure Marvel.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, Dev, were you going to say something?
I mean, just to add, I think that another thing that I kind of appreciated about it is, like, the first episode, at least, can get, like, pretty gory, honestly. Like, there's some pretty violent scenes. I do think that episodes 2 and 3 so far have toned down that a whole lot for some reason, but it was pretty refreshing to see Marvel actually go for that.
I'm a little unclear on what exactly. I hear from some people Moon Knight's like a Batman type, but I hear this version's kind of different. What exactly is the elevator pitch of Moon Knight like as a character?
Okay, so the deal is Moon Knight is a dude with multiple dissociative identity disorder. And one of his personalities is Mark Spector, and he's, he used to be a war guy, now he's an assassin. So there's something happened, and he almost died. So this Egyptian god came down, and he's like, hey, if you be my Moon Knight, I'll let you live. And so now he's got the powers of this suit of armor that basically regenerates him, but he can only use it when the moon is out.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Okay. Does it spend as much time in like the subconscious alternate dimension stuff the first one does, or is that a little more secluded to when he's getting his footing?
The subconscious, what?
Like, he's in a dream state, and like maybe I was a little lost, but
They don't have as many scenes of that. At least it's
Mhm.
it pretty much only has been just like whoever's in control seeing it from their perspective. So
I see. Okay, all right. All right, well, I'll give this another fair shake, I suppose. I don't know. It was for some reason my heart just wasn't in it the first time, but it might be a little more rewarding with a little more context with that in mind.
yeah, I do think it's the best show that the Phase 4 MCU has put out so far. And it's only going to be 6 episodes, so that's nice that they have like some brevity to it and they know what they're
Yeah.
doing with it. So I do sort of have confidence in what the next 3 episodes are going to have.
All right. Sorry, you go
I
ahead.
guess that's it for mine. So, Davey, it's up to you.
Cool. Speaking of Lego Star Wars, I would like to roast the Skywalker saga.
Because the internet doesn't have enough of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right now, this game is sitting at very, very positive reviews on Steam, and
I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to be so. When you said the Skywalker saga, for some reason I thought you meant the sequel trilogy.
Oh,
no. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. I'm
That's
roasting
what
the
I
game.
did not. I must have seemed so dismissive of actually a relatively fresh topic. I'm sorry. Keep going, bud.
No, it's all good. I mean, there are definitely some complaints out there about it, but I think for the most part, there's a lot of positivity behind it, and I get it. Like, there are some very good things about this game. Like for one, it's just very good looking, which is sort of what I would expect. For two, there's a very big character roster that is lacking in some places, but obviously, you saw like you can play as the
live slug reaction.
Ben Affleck is quaking.
And they do have DLC for The Mandalorian and Solo, a Star Wars story.
That's kind of cool.
And some more on the way. But
The Mandalorian part is cool.
Yeah, and like he has like Baby Yoda following him around and stuff, and that's fun. But it's completely lacking in any sort of Clone Wars representation, unfortunately, which like I understand, but I also am disappointed about that. But where it sort of makes up for that is because I've played through the first 3 episodes so far, and pretty much all of the voice actors are returning from the Clone Wars series, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like, finally being able to hear like Anakin and Obi-Wan, like the voice actors from the show doing Revenge of the Sith is just pretty awesome.
And I know
and
fucking
also
Shulk is a voice actor in it, which is awesome.
Yeah, he does like some side characters, and there's like a full-on Xenoblade reference, I think in like episode 6, where he just says, "I'm really feeling it." So it's fun to see that. Another thing that this game does pretty well is the humor, and specifically like having the Clone Wars voice actors for that is great. Because like for example, there's like a scene they do in episode 2, the scene where Anakin is having like a nightmare, and he wakes up and he's cuddling a teddy bear in a bunk bed that he's sharing with Padme. And
I'm sorry. I don't know why that like.
Again, keep in mind this is being fully voice acted by the Clone Wars voice actors, and Padme comes down and is like, "Did you have another nightmare about sand again?"
Well, no, I think.
Go ahead, Will.
I was gonna say, I think what works really well from what I've seen is that they take it so seriously. Like they never play it off as like, "Hey, check out this." Like when Padme says that, she's like serious. She's like, "Are you okay? Was it about the sand again?"
It's very non sequitur sort of delivery all around. They really do deliver it like it's the most serious thing they've ever said. So it has good humor like that. But again, just like the character roster, there's a downside to it, which is The humor is literally never ending. There is basically never a single second in this game where they're just adapting the original material, which, compare that to the original Lego Star Wars. They do actually try to stay sort of true to what the movies depicted. This really barely does that at all.
There's a certain magic to those original Lego Star Wars where just the nature of being Lego gave this silent film charm where it could be funny, it could also be very serious.
Yeah.
Well, you can put on mumble mode too.
They have mumble mode. I have not tried it yet, but from what I've heard, it doesn't work super well because the scenes were kind of written around the dialogue.
And the writers for those, like, arguably more than Lego Star Wars, which I loved those. I have more nostalgia for Lego Batman and just how there was no dialogue intended for those scenes, and they conveyed all these weird, esoteric Batman villains in a huddle with no dialogue in that, like, silent film vibe that is amazing. And I feel like trying to hit a balance with that with just, like, a switch on and off would not, like, cut it.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, so there's another trade-off. Like, it's great that we have these voice actors returning from the show, but sort of at the expense of the great visual comedy that was just so iconic in the original games.
I can imagine James Arnold Taylor at least having a ball, because he has some comedic chops in addition to being a really good Obi-Wan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's great in this, too. And, so, I mean, speaking of James Arnold Taylor, so him, like, as Obi-Wan, he has a lot of, great moments in this, obviously. They do the hello there and all that stuff. I feel like I should mention this. I'm just going to say that this happens. It doesn't really connect to anything, but before you fight General Grievous, he dabs.
I did see that, and that's fucking hilarious.
I beg your pardon?
But, so, on to some of the more disappointing stuff. There is some sort of, like I sort of mentioned earlier with the humor kind of getting in the way of the storytelling. There are some moments where they just straight up get very important parts of the story just completely wrong. Like the fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan at the end of Revenge of the Sith. Obi-Wan is periodically yelling, Anakin, stop, it doesn't have to be like this. Which is a very strange thing for him to be saying, considering he literally went there to kill him in the original movie. He knew he was already lost and there was no coming back.
And so they're not playing that necessarily for laughs. It's just they had the opportunity to adapt the events and they misread something, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's like I don't really know how to explain it. Like, it's played seriously. It's played as if this is from the source material, but it just isn't. So I don't know if there are any more moments like that, but that was something that was kind of weird that stood out to me. But ultimately, my biggest issue with this game is that it is not at all an adaptation of the original Lego Star Wars games. It is more just like, what if they did Lego Star Wars today? Like, what if this was a Lego game today? And normally that would be fine, because the game could stand out on its own as like its own good thing, but it doesn't, because one thing that the original games were so good at capturing was, like I said, just adapting the original source material and then also adding on a bunch of extra stuff that, while it wasn't really depicted in the films, you could like make the argument that this may have been, something that connects to the story. So, like, for example, episode 1, level 1 in the original is, you're going through the ship after they tried to assassinate Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. And it's a sort of a decent chunk. You're going through the hallway and then you're like sneaking on board the ship that goes to Naboo. In this game, it is a 2-minute sequence where you run through a straight hallway. And that, I mean, when that happened, I sort of had a bad feeling that this was going to be like, all of the levels were going to be like this, and they really are.
So it's a vehicle for Lego character designs and gags more than like an actual solid platformer.
Pretty much. I mean, if you aren't really paying attention to the collectibles at all, you can blast through each episode in about 15 minutes each.
No.
God, that's crazy.
They
And
are
those old
so
games,
short.
those older Lego games are these robust puzzle platformers, at least from my nostalgia tinted glasses. Maybe that's a laughable notion now. I remember spending some real time finding the collectibles and building
Yeah.
the Lego vehicles and stuff, and how they would cleverly build stuff like that around these stages.
Yeah, there were some great puzzles. There was like the 10 mini kits in every single level, and in this one the mini kits are still there, but they're more like goal oriented, like kill this many enemies and get a mini kit. And the other thing is, like, you know, in the original games you had the hub world and you had some extra stuff to do, but playing through the episodes and then going back and playing them through free play, that was like how you mainly spent your time. That was the main chunk of the game. In this one, you probably spend 95% of the time in the hub worlds, in these giant vast open worlds, which are neat, but you know, they're just filled with like collectibles and puzzles that aren't they don't have anything to do with the story. And like you're spending so little time actually playing through the episodes that it's just strange.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, it looked so fun from what I've seen.
Like it's still fun in a certain way. Like if you're into like just collecting things and like doing all these unlockables, which I sort of am, then you'll get quite a bit out of this. But if you're hoping for anything like the originals, then I'd say just play the originals, because this is not it. I mean, the combat's great. You know, the voice acting, like I said, the humor, but there's so much that just didn't really meet expectations, especially since they delayed this game 2 years, that I can't really excuse.
That's late. Like, you can't build a stage that's not a hallway over 2 years.
Yeah, it's like if they had literally just remade the original levels and still did all the open world stuff around that, people would have been crazy about it, but they don't. It's like 4 levels per episode. Sometimes they're the weirdest choices, and that's it. The rest is just open world collectathon that, you know, you're not collecting these things on the way to finishing each episode. You're doing it outside the realm of each episode as like a separate game.
Damn. That blow. Can I put the fear of death in you guys about one other aspect that occurs to me?
Go for it.
It sounds like these are pretty decent writers as far as the comedy goes. I can't fathom a universe where they do Mandalorian DLC and not do like insufferable Baby Yoda stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the Mandalorian DLC that they have is probably all they're gonna do, and like, you know, Baby Yoda is there. He just kind of follows you around, and
Is it a campaign or is it just additional?
It's just like characters.
Okay. I thought it was like you get a DLC chapter of the Mandalorian story. Okay.
I mean, they could end up doing that, but I haven't seen any indication that that's gonna happen.
Could I tell my favorite Baby Yoda story real quick?
Sure.
My dad, he and I were both pretty into the Mandalorian when that was going, and some context as to where my dad is in like geek stuff. We played Injustice together once, and on the character select, he highlights Lex Luthor and says, "Is this Iron Man's bad guy?" So that's like my dad, sweetest guy in the world. I'm not saying that to make fun of him. I'm saying that to illustrate how normal he is compared to me. So he doesn't, Star Wars isn't necessarily his bag, but he was super into The Mandalorian. We would watch it together a lot of days, but one day we couldn't get together. We agreed to hit play at the same time and text each other while we watched it. And at some point, my dad texts me. So it was the Ahsoka episode. My dad texts me, "So are the Jedi good or bad?" And I say, "Well, the Jedi are good, but the Emperor, when he took over, manipulated everyone into thinking they were bad. That's why they're being hunted." I get one text from my dad that says, "Oh," and a second that says, "There's Baby Yoda."
Man.
Ugh. All right. Mind if I take the wheel for potentially the last one before news? Do we agree on that, or do we have more to share?
No, I'd say if you do take the wheel, just make sure that it is a great steering wheel that does not fly off.
A good steering wheel that doesn't fly out the window while I'm driving.
So,
Unless you have
Dav,
more-
are you going to give that to him?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
All right. I guess good finishing topic. I watched season 2 of Green Eggs and Ham, and I liked it. I quite liked it. I don't know. I'm only being so hesitant about talking about it because season 1 of Green Eggs and Ham, honestly, some of the best stuff Netflix has ever put out. One of the 3 good things they've ever done. That awful.
Yeah, totally agreed.
Yeah.
Name those 3 things.
Green Eggs and Ham, BoJack Horseman, and Glow.
Castlevania and Arcane are not on that list.
Yeah, Tommy, that's an L for you.
I'm obviously hyperbolizing. So fuck yourself. This podcast is over. I think it's both a good and a bad thing that... No, not really a bad thing, even. It turns out pretty well. I do ultimately retain that season 1 is a lot better, but throwing Sam and Guy into the Butter Battle Book narrative and the search for Sam's mom is almost clumsy, and the first episode stumbles a bit as a result. Once they settle into the premise, it's actually pretty delightful.
I've only seen the first episode so far, but I'm really liking it.
Yeah. You can tell they had no idea what they were about to do when they wrote that season 1 cliffhanger, because it's basically dismissed as soon as it's brought up. There's some, it goes to some interesting place. Guy, I really like Guy's arc in this one because it could have been easy to just have him be a nicer person who doesn't get to grow as much in this season. But he does have to make some really tough choices when he gets involved in this war for very, and it could have been easily, it's such high stakes that it's normally it'd be hard to sympathize with him. But without revealing anything, he has really good reasons to do what he's doing, and it ends up getting kind of muddy, and I kind of liked that about it. Yeah. Trying to think, sorry, I'm just losing my train of thought a bit. Yeah, it's a good follow-up. I guess since Dav has seen it, I'm not going to give away a ton. You get fun henchmen, you get fun magic-y concepts. There's some areas where I don't feel Pam I Am, who's Sam's mom, who's in the trailer, so I don't think that's a huge spoiler, lives up to 2 years of waiting to meet her. I think they ultimately did the best they could with the circumstances I could tell they were dealt, in that it does seem like a bit of a production that's compromised here and there. It's ultimately pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah. All right. News bulletins. It's a pretty quick set here.
Let's do it.
All right. Breath of the Wild 2 has been delayed.
Doesn't surprise me.
No, me neither.
I don't think that game's coming out.
I have a large enough backlog that I just don't really care, but also kind of sick of Nintendo announcing games way too early, so hopefully they stop
completely.
that.
Well, I mean, I also heard, and I don't know if this is true, but I heard the creator or the production design team is stressed out because it's too big for the Switch.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so that's causing some Switch Pro rumors, which is always fun.
You guys think Bayonetta 3 is coming out this year?
Nope.
Is it supposed to come out this year?
The direct where it was revealed said 2022.
I could see a holiday release for it. I mean, they had gameplay when they revealed it.
True. I'd like to hold out hope for it. That's the big one I'm really holding out for. That's the game I'm most excited for at the moment. I have a hard time seeing it coming out, but hey, you never know. I had a bulletin all about all of Netflix's bullshit, but we covered that. We got an announcement for Kingdom Hearts 4.
Oh boy.
Will, what are your impressions? You're the Kingdom Hearts guy here as of...
Oh my god, I can't believe I'm known as a Kingdom Hearts guy now.
That's why we shoved you in the locker the other day.
Uh, no, okay, so the big problem I had with Kingdom Hearts 3 is that, like I said, it's not to be taken too seriously, but it was kind of a bummer that basically all the worlds were new worlds. Not new worlds, modern worlds. Big Hero 6, Frozen. There's some others, but I can't remember them off the top of my head. They were all movies. Yeah, not quite Toy Story. I guess
isn't it?
Yeah, no, I meant like a lot of the worlds besides like the two Monsters Inc. world or Monsters Inc. and Toy Story. They focused on new new properties.
I see.
And we didn't get I guess Toy Story, if you count it, it's like from Toy Story 2, so it's a bit classic, and then Monsters Inc., But I'd like to see some old stuff. Also, there is a rumor, and I don't know if this is true, that someone saw an AT-AT foot in the trailer, which means that not only would we be getting a Star Wars world, but it would take place during Episode 6. If that is true, I'm sold. Because the biggest... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say a lightsaber Keyblade would be a real easy sell to get people all over it.
Yeah. And the big thing I was worried about is that they put in Star Wars and it's the sequel trilogy. You team up with Rey and fight Kylo Ren. That's the lamest thing ever.
And then you go to the Captain Marvel world.
Oh, yes. But, if it's fun, it's fun. I think Star Wars would be a cool world, and that's kind of the one I'm hoping for. It would be nice to see a world based on Wreck-It Ralph. That's like the only modern world I'd really feel strongly about.
I want a Turning Red world where, since that movie occurs in 2002, Sora sees a copy of Kingdom Hearts 2 for the PS2 on a shelf and has a crisis.
That's not the only thing he's gonna see in 2002.
Well, now I have to keep in that earlier bit, or that's not gonna make sense. I'll figure something out.
Uh-huh. Oh. I mean, Dav, I know when I played the first Kingdom Hearts, you kind of earnestly asked me, so you're like, so is it actually fun? And I'm telling you guys, they're stupid games. If you take them seriously, you're not going to have any fun. But if you can kind of, turn your brain off and you don't, play them like you're Conan O'Brien, you should have a lot of fun with them. But anyways, that's...
When you said, Dav asked me if they're good games, I was half expecting you to say, and I'm telling you guys. No.
I mean, they're not. They should not be taken serious. It's a stupid idea that doesn't quite work, but if you can just kind of accept the absurdity of it, it's great gameplay.
Oh boy. I like that Sora did a drill attack in the trailer. I thought that was pretty killer. I like drill attacks.
Yeah.
I kind of got big Bayonetta vibes from fighting a giant-ass demon in a city setting.
Yeah, I got Persona 5 vibes.
Reminds me a bit of the Boss Baby. Oh. Those are did I forget any big news bulletins? Did you guys want to bring anything up?
Those were the only two?
I had Netflix announces... Well, I also had Netflix announces a Tekken anime. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that could be cool. I think, yeah, that could be interesting. Because Tekken has always had except for Tekken 7, it's always had kind of like a non-linear story, right?
Right, exactly. The focus shifts depending on who you're playing on, so it'll be interesting to see how they adapt the Mishima saga, if you will. Really good.
Huh. What about you, Dev?
Yeah, sorry.
I don't think I got anything.
All right. Yeah, well, I had Netflix dropping the ball with Stone Ocean in tandem with that, but we covered that, so I think we're good. I guess that'll do it for this week's Toast and Roast. Let me ask you guys, did you see the trailer for... Oh, here's a news bulletin. You see the trailer for NSO getting Mario Golf?
Nope.
On 64. I'm curious. Have you guys? I wish I did this differently. I guess because I use the main theme for Mario Golf for the podcast theme music. I don't know if you guys ever noticed that. And I just kind of they use that music again for the trailer, and I've become so self-centered that I was like, why are they using our music? What the fuck? That trailer was upsetting because they only focused on the Mario characters and completely ignore that Plum and Charlie and Sunny and Harry are there.
I wonder why.
I like that the concept of just like Mario went to the country club and just ran into regular ass people. That's my favorite thing about that game.
Well, you heard it here, folks. West Coast Toast and Roast is coming to NSO.
Yeah. I hope not. If enough people hear this podcast, they'll realize how bad we are. Bad show, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to our bad show.